Hi, Rueben from Business Success Educators here, and we help business owners profit more and work less. And today I wanted to share with you something that is really, really important as a business owner, and is what is going on with your time. See, for many business owners, their time is not their own. They're often juggling lots of balls, wearing lots of hats, lots of things coming at them, fighting the fires, getting this thing for a customer, or the staff coming at them. And there's all this sort of stuff going on, which makes business, to be frank, quite stressful. Now, to overcome this, the first thing we want to understand is that we can't create more time. See, we only get 24 hours every day. Now, think of your time as a time jar, that you get 24 hours every day with your time. So it's not about trying to manage that time because it's going to be 24 hours. It's what's actually going into that time jar that's going to make things run a lot more smoothly. And the best way to share this with you is to understand the story of the jar of rocks. Now, this story was first told by Stephen Covey. He wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the story goes a little bit like this. There's a university professor standing at the front of the class, and he's got this big glass jar, and he gets a bucket full of rocks and pours it in there, fills it right to the top, and says, "Hey, class, is the jar full?" And they go, "Well, yeah, you couldn't get any more rocks in." He goes, "Well, yeah, you're right." And he goes, "But really?" And then he gets another bucket, and it's full of pebbles, and he pours that in, shakes it all about. The pebbles go all between the rocks, right to the brim, and says, "Hey, class, is the jar full now?" And they went, "Well, yeah, probably not. You could probably get a bit more in there, maybe sand and stuff like that." And he goes, "Oh, very good, class. You're cottoning on there." And so he gets a bucket full of sand, pours that in the top, right to the top, shakes it all about, sand going around the pebbles, around the rocks, filling it right up. He says, "Class, is the jar full now?" And they go, "Well, yeah, you couldn't get any more in." And then he pours some water over the top, and obviously goes in between all the sand and gravel and rocks and all. It's all full up. And there's a really, really important lesson in this in terms of what happens with our time. See, what would happen if he had put sand in the jar first? If it was full with sand, you couldn't actually physically get a rock in. But by putting the rock in the jar first, the sand and the pebbles, gravel, that sort of stuff moves and blends all around it. And the key lesson behind that story is to put the rocks in your jar first. Put the rocks in your jar first. And so what are the rocks in our business? Well, typically the rocks are things which are not urgent, but important. And so these things are often, they don't have to happen now, but if we actually put time into them, they'll actually make our business run smoother. Things like planning, things like training, things like reviewing our numbers, things like writing systems, things like proactively following up quotes. I shared that before. It's like putting fire breaks in instead of just fighting fires all the time. You see, the more fire breaks that we build out, well, then there's going to be less fires we have to fight. Let me give you an example. One of our clients, Michael, he runs a construction company, and he was often going from job to job and sorting out this issue on site. Now, I've got to do some quotes, and would often be working nights and weekends just to stay on top of it all. And so what Michael did for his rock, he put one day out of his week to work what we call on his business. And in the morning, he focused on scheduling. So he was making sure he had the materials lined up, the subbies lined up, the schedules lined up to make, okay, what needs to happen in the job this week, the next week, just starting to focus on that. And in the afternoon, he focused on getting his quotes out, following up the quotes, getting any new quotes done, just, getting all the information together. And so rather than trying to react to that stuff and catch up based on when it became urgent, he made that not urgent by putting the time aside and working on those important things. And in fact, just by doing that one thing alone, he won a lot more work and literally doubled his business, within a 6 to 12 month period, because he actually started working on the things that would help him win his game of business. So what are some of those, not urgent but important things? Well, look, there are things like scheduling. There are things like doing follow-ups. There are things like training your team, writing systems, planning, reviewing your numbers. All those sorts of things help you move your business forward. And if you put them in your jar first, you'll find a lot more of that other stuff. One, it'll fit around it anyway, or the edge of stuff will fit. But two, you'll get a lot less of it. So what are some of the rocks that you need to put in your week? I'd love to know what they are. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll catch you in another video soon. Bye for now.